What are you doing?
I'm gearing up for our next video. Look out, doggo. I'm gonna trip over the dog.
Hey Internet, welcome back to the Easy Riding channel. I'm Zach.
And I'm Emma.
And today we have to do our obligatory gear video. When you go out riding, you got a lot of options on what you can wear.
You can ride like this.
Or you can ride like this. You ready to go? Gear is an interesting topic. It's got a lot of opinions by a lot of people and has been discussed many times. And the approach we take is that there is a risk tolerance calculation that everybody who rides has to do to decide what they're going to wear when they ride. There is a lot of option, and when you're getting ready to ride, you have to decide what it is that you're going to be comfortable riding in.
And be confident riding in. Because you want to be confident.
And that changes from day to day. It's not always the same. Things like the weather, things like the area you're riding in, just the confidence level you're feeling on any particular day, those things change. And so making a decision on what you're going to wear, it can fluctuate as well. So you have to balance the equation between what you're comfortable wearing, what you feel safe wearing, what you can afford. You have to balance that equation. So it's not something that any one person can tell you, this is what you should be wearing. There are definitely some guidelines if you're looking for equipment on what you should look for. But nobody can tell you this is what you should be wearing.
And today we want to talk about some suggestions for what you could wear and also what we choose to wear and why.
And the direction that we're coming from is specifically about street riding. You need different direction if you're looking for dirt riding or track riding. We don't do that, so I don't have input in those areas.
The other direction that we are coming from is riding specifically in Arizona, and that's where we live, and it is hot a lot of the year. Granted, it does get cold. It can get cold. We do get snow up north, so you do need to plan for different environments in Arizona, but mostly we're going to be talking about what to do in hot weather riding, or what we do in hot weather riding.
It happens to be particularly beautiful today, but that's not always the case.
So there's 5 general areas that you can pick gear from, or pick gear to use. And I guess we'll just start at the top and work our way down, right, Zach?
That sounds like a plan. And starting at the top is probably wise, because if I was going to encourage anyone to wear a single piece of gear, it would be the helmet. There's not many other pieces of gear that protect quite as much of a vital piece of you as your helmet. Not that if you went down, anything else wouldn't hurt a lot. But you might still be alive if you wore a helmet. There are a lot of different styles of helmet to choose from. You've got everything from half helmet, which doesn't provide a whole lot of protection, all the way up to full face race ready helmets, which provide as much protection as is technologically available currently. So there's a wide variety and everything in between. Emma rode for a long time with a 3/4 helmet, and I used a modular helmet,
which had like a flip-up visor kind of thing, so it hinged, and basically the whole front half of the face would flip upright, making it more like a 3/4 helmet.
We currently both ride with full face helmets. Mine is a HJC standard street helmet. Emma rides with a
LS2 Blaze.
It's more of a ADV dirt bike style helmet.
And my helmet has a drop-down sunglass visor in it, so I wear glasses all the time, so it's nice to have this kind of sunglasses that can just drop into place, and I don't have to try to fiddle with changing out my daytime glasses for sunglasses or different things like that. And Zach's helmet has a really easy on-off clear visor and dark visor. So his dark visor he can use during the day, because again, it's really sunny in Arizona, and his clear visor he can use at night if he needs to.
We should discuss the law surrounding motorcycle helmets in Arizona, and motorcycles in general in Arizona, the stuff that sort of relevant to the discussion at hand anyway. There is no helmet law in Arizona except for those under 18 years of age. And if you don't have a windshield on your bike, then you are required to wear some sort of eye protection, regardless of your age. Also, Arizona law, but not as relevant to our conversation now, lane splitting and lane filtering are illegal here.
What about safety ratings on helmets? Are there any kind of safety ratings?
Yeah, actually there are safety ratings for all of your gear, all rated gear for motorcycles. Some of them are less trustworthy than others. Most helmets you can find with a DOT rating, a DOT certification, but also the DOT certification doesn't mean a whole lot in terms of how safe your noggin is. You can also purchase a helmet on Amazon that doesn't have any sort of rating and would be about as good as just wearing a bucket on your head. So there's a lot of variation there too that you should keep an eye out for. Personally, I always try to make sure that my helmet has the ECE 22/6, I think it is, rating.
Yes.
That's the most protective within reasonable price range at the moment. There are other better ratings that you can get. Most of the time those are actually relegated to race helmets and are terribly expensive. But if you are in the market for one, a helmet with a FIM rating is the current top-of-the-line, most protective tests performed and certified for any helmets. So
Snell is the other rating for helmets, SNEL. That's that's the British one?
Yeah, no, ECE is actually a from over the pond. but the rating is more stringent than DOT or Snell. The problem with both of those ratings actually is they're sort of old. They were developed a long time ago, and they haven't really been updated to match modern requirements, modern materials, and they were built in some cases with different circumstances, different use cases in mind than motorcycle riding, street riding, or even off-road riding. If you're interested in learning more about the ratings themselves, their history, what exactly those ratings mean, how they are tested, the impact that that has on the safety to your skull, I would point you at Fort Nine's videos. I'll link them below. He did a number of videos that are very good.
About helmets, yeah. So next down the line would be jackets. Jackets come in various forms. Zach and I both ride in leather jackets, and you can also choose textile jackets, which can come from canvas to denim to mesh, all different kinds of textiles, and they're all rated differently based on the kind of riding that you're doing. If you're doing more ADV riding or adventure riding, then a lot of people wear the kind of canvas. So whenever you're talking about leather jackets, there's several different kinds of animals that you can get your leather jacket made from. There's different weights and thicknesses of leather, and each one will protect you better or worse than one or the other. So starting at the bottom, there's lamb or calf skin, which does not provide you very much protection at all. It's more for looks.
And we should also be clear here, when we're talking about protection in regards to the textile or leather, we're talking about the resistance it has to wear when you're sliding across the asphalt.
Yes.
How long it'll take for that asphalt to wear through that material and start wearing into your skin.
Yes, that is true. So lamb does not provide very good skin protection. Next up you have cow, and that's pretty self-explanatory. A new one for us to learn was kangaroo. There are jackets that are made out of kangaroo, and probably chaps and stuff too. Next up would be deer hide, and my gloves are deer skin. And then the last one that affords some of the most skin protection if and when you do crash is goat. So, and when you're talking about thickness, anything less than 1 millimeter isn't really going to afford you good protection. Whenever you're looking at gear, it should have a weight and a thickness measurement afforded to it, and starting at 1 millimeter is your best bet if you want some good slide protection. Now, and like Zach said, this slide protection is only between 6 and 7 seconds. Like, I think 7 seconds is the most that you can get out of a slide before things start to deteriorate.
And also, just for a bit of comparison, professional race suits usually start at about 1.4 millimeters. So at each little increment that you go up in thickness of material is a fairly substantial increase in the amount of protection that you get.
Yeah. I like Milwaukee Leather is a brand that I've used several times, and the First Manufacturing Company. I've had several pieces of gear made from both of those companies, and I really like them a lot.
I believe my jacket is made by Steel City, I want to say. They're
Street and Steel.
Street and Steel, that's right. They're the in-house brand for cycle gear, but they are no longer making this particular jacket. It's out of production.
Yeah, I was joking with Zach a couple days ago. I was looking at all of our gear because, you know, we're making this video about gear, And so of course that means that you look at your gear, and I thought it was funny that I have a black jacket and black chaps and brown gloves, and he has a brown jacket with black gloves. Speaking of gloves, that's our next item to hit up.
I only recently started wearing gloves regularly when I was riding, which actually brings up another point that I'd like to shoehorn in right here, is that your gear is going to evolve over time. The kit that you decide to wear on any sort of regular basis will change. Gear eventually breaks down, even if you're not getting in an accident. It wears out. You should replace your helmets every few years at the very least. And that can lead to a lot of gear building up in your house. Anyway, to get back to the glove topic at hand, I'm currently wearing some Odin gloves. They've got leather palms and textile backs, which allow for nice airflow. Again, it's an Arizona thing, wanting to make sure that I can breathe through the gear. I've also got a pair of all leather gloves with a thinsulate lining that I wear in a little colder weather.
Keeping specific to road gear, leather and textile are your options, really. You have hotter weather gloves, like mine have perforations all down the backs to afford airflow. I also have some leather gloves that are similar to Zach's and have a little bit of a thinsulate liner for colder weather. I like them whenever they have some padding on the palms, and I've heard that especially for drivers, being Pillion, I obviously don't know, but I've heard that especially for drivers that having good padding on your palms can help reduce the vibration that comes off of your handlebars.
This is true. This bike doesn't have a terrible amount of vibration, but there definitely are bikes where you want some extra layer between you and the vibration it's producing for any extended period of time. Another thing that I will say is that armor on gloves, especially around the knuckles and wrist, are good to have. I don't own any gloves that have that at the moment, but I'm not opposed to it. Your hands are at an extreme part of your body, and if you go down, they're going to be what connects hard with the ground because they're whipping around you. They're what you put out in front of you, so you got to do what you can to protect them.
Pants, you kind of have a couple of options with them. So you can ride with your regular denim, which is what I do. I ride with my regular denim, but I wear leather chaps over my pants more often than not. Especially right now, still trying to get used to the Rocket. I feel more confident and comfortable wearing my chaps, where before riding on Opal, I would not wear chaps and just have on my regular blue jeans, which do not afford you very much skid protection, by the way. You can also buy denim pants that are rated for motorcycles and have like a Kevlar lining in them, or some kind of extra armor placed inside woven into the threads of the material. You can also find canvas and textile pants that again have armor pockets that you can slide armor into, or again have some kind of Kevlar or protective material woven into it to add that skid protection. But I mostly ride with chaps.
Armor inserts inside your pants or jacket are better than just a jacket by itself. They offer you impact resistance as well as sliding resistance, so they can do more for you depending on where you're riding and how you're riding, what sort of trouble you think you might get into. And again, this all goes back to the calculus that you have to perform before you ride, what you're comfortable with, what you can afford.
I don't really like riding with armor, with removable armor in my gear, because I'm short. I'm only about 5'2". So the gear that you can find a lot of times is meant for taller people. So if I'm wearing a jacket and the arms are long, then the armor either rests on my forearm, or if I manage to get it in the right spot, then the back of the jacket pulls away from my back, and it's not affording me the protection that it should. So that's a good point to make, is that whenever you are buying gear, make sure it fits your body. Make sure that the gear that you buy is good for your body and fits well and comfortably, and you can move around, that you can move around safely, that you can lift your arms, move, I don't know, do stuff.
If you're not comfortable with your gear, you're not going to wear it, and then it's not doing you any good. So
Precisely.
It would be better to buy a helmet with a worse rating that you find comfortable and you're going to wear, than it would be to buy a helmet with the best rating that is uncomfortable and you'll never wear, because one of them is actually going to offer you protection because you'll wear it. We're up here at the Salt River right now.
Top end of the Salt River. But it is fall here, and they do not release water into the salt, or as much water into the salt, so the salt's really low during the winter time. So yes, being short and being curvy means that I've struggled to find gear that fits me. I've also had 2 kids, so I'm not a stick figure.
Another point about this is, you know how you go into a department store, and if you go to the women's section, it's 3 floors full of things, and if you go to the men's section, it's one little corner. The exact opposite is true when you go looking for gear. Gear for women is sort of non-existent, especially if you're looking for anything that has any sort of actual protection. There's a lot of stuff out there that is meant for looks only. There's not a whole lot of stuff for women if you're looking to actually protect yourself on a ride. So
in our experience,
you might have to go looking in the men's section. If you're a woman, you might have to go looking in the men's section to find anything protective to wear.
Or in our case, I don't like pink, and a lot of women's gear is pink.
Yeah, the things that are available are ugly.
Yes. Or like the ADV, I will say that the ADV class of gear, so if you're riding more of the adventure style bikes, the taller bikes, off-road.
Dirt stuff, yeah, is much more readily available in women's styling.
Yes, but again, it's bulky. To me, in my opinion, it's ugly. And it's not something I want to wear.
And honestly, a lot of it's not appropriate to wear on the street.
So one of the last pieces of gear we want to cover is boots. You obviously want your feet covered. Here in Arizona, there are a lot of people that seem to think that flip-flops are appropriate for riding in. Hey, the Salt River horses! Any on that side? Nope. Salt River horses. Those are cool. Flip-flops, I don't feel are appropriate to ride in gear to ride in. We
honestly,
like to ride
from a driver's perspective, I find anything other than good solid boots to ride in uncomfortable, just because I don't like shifting with even tennis shoes. It's a mildly unpleasant. So
yeah. So we like to ride. I ride with hiking boots. I've always ridden with hiking boots. Ever since I first started riding, that was just before I actually started to get and collect gear. You can make do with your everyday clothes and stuff, but again, it's that risk assessment thing. And so I've always ridden with hiking boots. My hiking boots are ankle high. They're Merrell branded, and so they offer a good amount of protection. And Zach has currently some Keens that are a steel toe or a composite toe, and that come up really high on the ankles and have extra padding around the ankle bones.
And I've gone down in these boots, so I know they do protect my feet because I still have that toe.
I just love that toe. Yeah, and my shoes came out of the last hazard well as well. So armor is like a little bit of molded foam that you can have added to basically for street riding your elbows, your back, your knees, and your hips. Again, for dirt and other riding, there's more armor and different armor, but most of the armor will come with a CE level of 1 or 2. And that's kind of what you want to look for. If you're wanting something with armor, you want to look for something that has a CE Charlie Echo 1-2 rating.
And if that's something you're interested in, I would encourage you to read up on it. We have not had armored. Actually, I guess my last jacket did technically have armor in it, but I never learned anything about it, so I couldn't tell you what's good, what's bad, what's the best thing to have. So
for Arizona specific riding, some good things you might have are, I love my new jacket. It has vents in it, like these zippered little vented openings on the sleeves and in the back, and it's fantastic. I have venting in my helmet, so it allows airflow to come in and around my head, and the venting on my jacket lets airflow come in and around my core. Some people ride with water packs, like hydration packs, or cooling vests. A couple other good things that I always carry with me are sunscreen and chapstick. And basically for cold weather, you just need some layers. Just need some sweater or something underneath your leather. And some gear does come with layers already in it, like built into it. My jacket has a hoodie that will zip into it and that will button in little button strategic areas to keep it held in one place.
We're at the time of the year right now where we're constantly putting the liner in and taking the liner out of our gear, but
yeah.
Here in another month or so it'll go in and stay in for a little while. So it is definitely nice to have on a cold morning.
Yes. So coming back to the struggles finding gear for somebody who's short and kind of small. The first time I ever went riding with my adopted dad, we call him Papa Bear. So Papa Bear was getting ready to go to a motorcycle rally. We were going to go up to Williams, Arizona, which is about 5 hours if you go straight through. It was probably closer to, 6 or 7 for us because we had stops and things like that. But he told me literally the night before he was going on this ride, and he said, "Hey Em, do you want to go with me?" And I'm like, "Go where?" And he said, "Up to Williams." I said, "Okay, but I've never been on a motorcycle." He says, "That's not a problem, let's go around the block." I said, "Okay." So I hopped on the back of his then Goldwing, and it wasn't Opal, it was a maroon one. But I hopped on the back of this Goldwing, and we tooled around the block once or twice, and he said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, I think I could do that." So the next morning, I was borrowing some of my other sister's gear, and I had one of my sister's bomber jackets, which was kind of a lightweight leather, and I had my own hiking boots, and I had somebody else's chaps. I don't remember whose chaps I had. And then I had a helmet that was about 3 sizes too big for me, but because it had the comms unit in it, the CB radio, I that's what I had to wear. And so I stuck a beanie on my head and stuck the helmet on and went on down the road. And that was the first time I had any kind of gear on. So we stopped in Williams, Arizona at the local Harley-Davidson shop. That was pretty much the only kind of shop that was around, and couldn't find anything to fit me. Again, I'm 18 years old. I'm smaller than I was now, and
they made even less women's gear then.
yes, they made even less women's gear 20 or so years ago. So
that's Red Mountain, by the way.
Yes, that's the backside of Red Mountain. We have some really pretty mountains here in Arizona. So we stopped at the Harley shop. Couldn't find me any jackets at all. But we did manage to find some gloves. And they were children's extra small. And I still have them. They now fit my daughter. So that was my first piece of gear, was my Harley branded leather gloves. And then we stopped in Prescott, Arizona, and Prescott it's got a little bit of a western feel to it, western style, so we found some leather shops there, and they had a FMC, First Manufacturing Company. They had a small shop, and we found, again, one of the only women's jackets, and it was covered in fringe. And let me tell you, that was the first thing that I chopped off that sucker whenever we got home, was I chopped off all the fringe except for a little bit going across the back of the shoulders, because it went down the chest, across the shoulders, all the way down the arms. It was everywhere. Here's more of the Salt River. You can see it a little bit as Zach gets into an opening. There we go. There's our Salt River. So then I had my second piece of gear, and as Papa Bear and I kept riding and figured out that I was getting more serious about riding with him, then we acquired more gear for me. That's kind of where we are with our kids too, is that kind of assessment decision is how much are they wanting to ride with us, and how much money are we willing to spend on them while they're still growing.
Especially as children are difficult to find gear that isn't dirt.
Yes.
Dirt specific.
Yeah, if you want to ride dirt bikes, there's plenty of gear. There's not jackets, because they don't ride with jackets. But there's armor. There's lots of armor. But yeah, it's hard to find jackets specifically. It's been difficult to find for the kids. I guess the thing that we want you guys to take away from this video is that you get to choose how you want to ride. And this is how Zach and I choose to ride. I ride in more gear than Zach does. I always have. That was one of the stipulations with riding with Papa Bear, was that his girls had to be fully kitted all the time.
So that's certainly not a comprehensive gear option list. There's a whole lot out there. We don't know everything, and we probably got things wrong. But it's what we've come to understand as we've ridden over the years, and the choices that we've made in regards to that information, which, again, it changes. You learn new things, you start feeling different things about the way you ride, you become more comfortable or less comfortable, you see people get in accidents, and that causes anxiety in you and drives you to add another piece of gear that you weren't concerned with before. Or you take a class and become very comfortable on your bike, and for some reason that changes your mind about what you need to wear, and you wear less gear. We are all people, and the way we react to things, each and every one of us, is different. We can't tell you what you're supposed to wear. We can just tell you what we've done, what's worked for us, and the things that we've learned as we've gotten there. So I think that's going to be about it for this video. I don't know that we have a whole lot else that we could say without getting preachy about anything, so. I hope you all enjoyed that. Thanks for going with us. And thank you for a beautiful ride.
Put this one here. Zach, are you gonna help me put all this stuff away?